graduated from Ohio State, having moved away from my parents' Perry County farm. Right? So this is home, right? I worked in Zanesville. I worked at Mattingly Foods for 3 years, through the late 80s, okay? My career began, and with the exception of Mattingly Foods, has been nothing but embedded systems, real-time systems, communication systems, okay? That's 30 years. I graduated in '77, so it's 30 years plus a month and a half now, okay? And the reason I say that is because I'm not trying to be a Luddite here, okay? Every day I center my life on the world of computing. My programs have run cockpit communication systems in general aviation aircraft in the 80s. I was helping with Mattingly Foods in the late 80s. I then joined Bell Labs, where my code is now running in the long-distance switching network on some of the higher performance systems there. Okay. I went from there to work in Internet Protocol Security. After Internet Protocol Security, I went back to the really small stuff and started building embedded systems, no larger than a couple of inches across, for providing communications between people's computing and server infrastructure and remote devices. Okay? And between all that, I've done all kinds of other things. 30 years is a long time. So I don't come here as a person who's afraid of computing. I come rather as a person who understands where computing is useful and why. And part of what I want to describe here is why we're talking about this stuff in the voting process. Okay? When we talk about an election, we're looking at it as just a standard production process. You're producing something. In this case, it's information. You know, this many people voted for this candidate in this issue. This many people voted for that candidate or that issue, etc. Okay? It is a production process. Industry, manufacturing, and business has a lot of experience in knowing how to deal with these things. We use computers all the time for it. Okay? And the question has to be asked, why is it that all of the computer scientists in the universities that study this issue, almost all of the practicing computer software developers that study this issue, have the same answer? Direct recording electronic voting systems are a big mistake and a giant misapplication of a completely viable technology. Okay? I'm going to explain a little bit why that is, because that's what we want to do is connect this up. Okay? Now we all know that we vote in private, but the vote should be counted in public, right? Any one of us should be able to stick a video camera directly over all the counters and watch the process take place. Okay? Here, I have how a direct electronic recording system works. You can't see the bits in here. Okay? So, Leonard the voter comes up and says, I want to vote for Ron Paul. Okay? I'm going to show you on my little, I brought my little Palm Pilot here, which I'm going to claim is very equivalent to a voting machine. It's a touchscreen computer. Okay?
Actually, it's more technology advanced than a voting machine.
Well, actually, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. This is a $400 version of exactly what a voting machine would be if it were done right. So you're right. I mean, I agree with you completely. We're paying $3,000 for these machines. I know that I can go to Office Max and pick one up for $400 or less. Okay? So there are some questions here about cost and effectiveness. But what I want to talk about is how it is that we can audit our stuff. Okay? Now, when a person uses a computer, we don't know this as we look at it. But everybody who's ever written a letter or worked on a spreadsheet or typed in some grades in school for the teachers, you type in your data, okay, and you run a print, and you say, okay, as a teacher, you know, there were 4 A's, 3 B's, and 2 C's. Oops, there's the red F. But the question would be, you typed in the data, you got out your report, and you know what? You checked them out. We do that. We don't even think that we're doing that. But that is, in fact, an audit. The normal use of computing systems is regularly audited. type a letter to your mother in Microsoft Word. You print it, you look at the results. You don't like the results. You toss it, do it again. That is an audit. See what I'm saying? When we use a computer every day, whether it be in business, whether it be at home, whether it be surfing the internet, we're always looking at the results. Voting is one of those cases when you're doing it in a direct recording electronic system where you can't see your result. This is the first time in the history of computing, with modular things like flying rockets and stuff like that, but this is the first time where people commonly don't have access to what it is that we ordinarily do, and we don't know that, right? The people running the election boards of elections, they're normal folks, If it weren't for the fact that they're working in the board of elections, they do whatever it is that they are. They're business people.
Question.
Sure.
This question that comes up is answered by, okay, the window over here shows you what you voted for. And so you know that the machine's doing what it does.
Yes.
But that's the end of it. And we don't know what happens after that.
Let's talk about that, because that's an absolutely correct statement. Ohio is a rare state. Georgia is not. Georgia is an example. We have voter verified paper audit trails. Our ES&S system. I'm in Franklin County. In the ES&S voting machines, I actually look, when I vote, I watch my candidate selection, my issue selection come up. I notice that. Okay? So the voter has verified it. Now, in 2005, House Bill 3 was a bill that introduced these changes to the election system. One of the aspects of it was that the Ohio Senate took out the audit restriction. Not only did they take it out, they've set it up so that there is no legal requirement for an audit of those voter verified paper audit trails. What we see when we run our elections is nothing other than the electronic count that was delivered by the DRE machine. Okay? Legally, in House Bill 3, it is the case that the paper is the legal record of the vote. If you study the law, we've all done this. That really is the legal record, right? But what gets reported, what gets counted, and what gets produced as a result after the canvass, the official counting process a couple of weeks later, is from the electronic count. It's not from that paper audit trail.
And
That
rarely
paper
do they
audit trail
change
is
who the
essentially
winning
useless.
candidate is.
I'm sorry, what?
It's very rare that the winning candidate after an audit is ever removed. So whoever they call as the winner generally stays the winner.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It becomes a heavy weight to change. So, we have that audit trail. A lot of states don't. So that's an important point, but we don't use it.
But you're saying technically, if you wanted to challenge something, you could say, I want you to count the paper.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
with the paper, an important thing to know is those machines were not set up actually to have that paper audited. It's like rolling out a toilet paper roll. In the counties I've been in, most of them have come up with their own set of paddles or a wooden spool or something to put it on. And literally, it's like reading a roll of toilet paper. It is a very painful process.
Well,
And
the
it was
first-
not made to actually be audited. It was
The
just to pacify that they wanted something on paper.
The first time I voted on one of these here in Muskegon County, I couldn't read it as it was printing out.
Right.
Yeah, it prints
Yeah.
out so fast,
was-
it is like
yeah. And-
I don't even see what it says.
And there's like, the way the window was done, it was like kind of like one of those Cracker Jack magnifying glasses.
Yeah, it's like.
And it was like, well, good luck trying to read that.
So what we have
Take a
to
camera with you
I
and
will.
photograph
I
it.
will.
to get.
Well, are you
that's
allowed
what-
to take a video camera in while you're doing it?
Yes.
You can record your own